So
Start please,
Venkatramana sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So Venkatramana sir. Sir, shall I start? Hello. Hello.
Tejashni ma'am, I think he left.
Yes, yes. Okay. We'll wait one more minute.
Sure.
Madam, 1 minute, madam. Sir,
Okay, sir.
ఓకే సార్ వచ్చింది.
ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు మీరు చూడగలుగుతున్నారు కదా?
మేడం
Oh.
స్టార్ట్ చేయండి.
Okay, sir.
సారీ.
A very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to the day 4 afternoon session of STTP phase 1 entitled Mixed Signal Design. I hope this session will opportunity to knowledge. We are fortunate to have an eminent personality as our resource person, Mr. Venkatramana Garu. Let me take the pleasure of introducing Mr. Venkatramana Garu. Mr. Venkatramana Garu has received ME degree from Anna University in the area of Applied Electronics VLSI Design. He has a work experience more than 10 years in semiconductor industry and worked on PMICs, battery chargers, RF, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, etc. The topic of today's session is mixed signal verification using SVR UVM MS methodology. We are very happy to have you with us, sir. Thank you so much for considering and accepting our request. Now I request Mr. Venkatramana Garu to take over the session. Sir, please.
Yeah. Yeah, hi everyone. This is Venkatramana. My audio is, my voice is audible, right?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
And
your screen in presentation mode, sir.
yeah. Okay, so today we are going to walk through mixed signal verification techniques and concepts using system Verilog and UVM.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, it's not in presentation mode, sir. Please do it once again.
అది కిందకు వచ్చేసి డబుల్ క్లిక్ అవ్వలేదు, క్లిక్ అవ్వట్లేదు, కిందకు వచ్చేసి పెట్టండి దాన్ని పక్కన కింద అదే డబుల్ క్లిక్ చేయండి. అది రావట్లేదా?
నాకు వస్తుంది కానీ మీకు కనిపించట్లేదు. యాక్చువల్లీ
సరే లేవట్లేదు సార్. పర్సెంటేజ్ పెంచట్లయితే 100% ఉంది, 70% ఉంది, 100% చేయండి.
షూర్
అదైతే కొంచెం విజిబుల్గా ఉంటుంది. మీకు కనపడుతుందా? ఇక్కడ మాకు స్క్రీన్ మీరు రావట్లేదు, షేర్ అవ్వలేదు.
వన్స్ చేస్తాను మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి. ఇప్పుడు ఓకేనా?
ఓకే సార్.
ఓకే, yeah, sorry for annoying things. So I guess most of the audience are from VLSI background. Is it interactive?
Yes, sir, interactive, sir.
Okay, so I guess most of you people are from VLSI background, correct? No issues. So we'll see today new concepts like we have many methodologies in VLSI to verify analog and mixed signal circuits. So this is a new novel and a new methodology where we use a UVM is nothing but a universal verification methodology. Usually this methodology is adopted mostly in digital verification. So it is a robust and most trusted and industries, VLSI, semiconductor industries are actually adopting to UVM, even though they have worked in OVM or VMM or RVM. So, but slowly most of the companies are actually migrating to UVM. So the thing is here, analog, bringing analog into UVM is very challenging, and still the research is still on the process, like in the process. But still, some companies are already, they have some internal methodologies to work in UVM, proven. Why? Because UVM is a proven methodology, and it is like plug and play kind of things. So it can be ported to one environment to, I mean, like one project to other project. Just need to have some test bench. So sequence and all the things. So we'll walk through how this mixed signal verification in industry are actually migrating from traditional verification methodology to digitized or digital centric verification methodology. Our agenda is like I will have a mixed signal verification and the analog modeling versus real number modeling, the different features and modeling styles. So how we do real number modeling in industry, what are the challenges in modeling, and how we check the schematic versus model, because schematic, the analog designer will design in schematic, and we modeling engineer will model that analog design. So we need to have trade-offs to map the graph or voltage output, whatever the actual functionality in an analog design in a schematic, that is a SPICE, should match to the model what we design, that modeling engineer. Then we'll have an analog block modeling, and we'll go through some SVRNM, faster verification solution with RNM modeling. These all things are the agenda we have, and how we are actually writing assertions or checkers to verify or to self-check. Some we have a self-check, and some we have a circuit check, and some we have inserted some analog checkers in SVRNM. Then we have we'll see analog simulation concept, and I have taken one example, industry example, and I've produced some results there, and we'll see the environment, everything there. This is our agenda, today's agenda. So the introduction, the most of mixed signals circuits, you can see some mobile applications, or all what are the digital I mean, like DSP circuits, or all these electronic gadgets which use fives and M5, D5, C5, and different mixed signal circuits. So these are all actually subject to mixed signal circuits, you can say. So what are the needs for the mixed signal designs for consumer products growing rapidly? Devices. So mixed signal designs, verification and time to market are becoming more and more challenging. So due to increasing unpredictability and the complexity of today's system, circuit SPICE and fast SPICE simulation cannot deliver a verification arrangement on time. So with the demand to have more functionality in today's design, the high performance SoC will have to further accommodate analog and mixed signal designs. This leads to a growing necessity of methodology for accurate and fast verification of AMS designs. So here we are trying to present AMS verification, which use well-known real value modeling concepts, RVM process, floating point real. So these are all developed verification technique. In this work makes it possible to behaviorally model analog effects such as supply, RAM, behavior, PVT variations using event-driven simulators, and compatible with existing digital verification techniques. So coming to mixed signal verification, so it involves many different levels of abstraction. So let's say transistor level simulation with SPICE remains the golden standard for analog IP verification, so which provides high accuracy, but when you see it is very slow since everything is in SPICE until extremely selective. So here what I mean very slow until extremely selective in the sense like if you keep everything, the switching circuits, clocking blocks, VCOs, PLLs, all digital which are subject to the clocks are every time every clock it will tick. So clock ticking will take more time because this is a continuous SPICE nothing but it's a continuous simulation process. So it will take more time and it will be very extremely slow. So until unless you select selectively you make SPICE blocks and remaining blocks in a model, then that will be like very fast. So to achieve the reasonable simulation speeds, mixed signal teams employ analog behavior model. I mean like modeling. So which you see like it will be faster compared to SPICE to something around 5 to 100 times. The actual speed up varies widely depending on the application, the level of detail modeling you have do, like what level of abstraction you'll model, like you are modeling at very top or you are modeling at some hierarchy level or you are modeling at a different abstraction levels. That depends upon the speed. So very high level, just high level functionality, then it will be very speed, very fast. And if you are going very leaf level, very low level abstraction level, then it will be some slower, not that much slow when it runs in a SPICE. So as design complexity increases, the cost of simulation increases in a nonlinear fashion. So for full chip verification, the cost becomes too high, so prohibitive. It is no longer possible to meet all verification goals and results in chip respins and delays. So once a chip respins, then entire investment on resources, fab, and the time, everything will be in a vain. So we verification engineers, maybe it may be like a digital verification engineers or analog verification engineers or a DFT people or post validation engineers. So all these people will be like whatever they have invested their time and all like sacrificing all personal life things and all, it will be in a vain. So very at most we need to take care of everything, not to chip respin and delays. So the block verification process does not cover possibilities when the block is integrated in the SOCs. So in the absence of top-down verification plan, these errors typically caught at the later stage of verification, so which further impacts time to market delay. So mixed simulation involves the following three functions: solving the analog part of the design using a system of nonlinear differential equations which are continuously varying over time; solving the digital part of the design by processing a time sorted collection of events over discrete time intervals. So perform signal synchronization based on the events and variables owned by the either simulations kernel that are in the sensitivity list of the other kernel. These are the key elements of MS mixed signal verification, where we have integrated environment, planning, tracking to closure. Execution and debug methodology, library, tools, abstraction. So these are all performance features. So simulation, nothing but how the performance of simulation, that the features we enable in the simulation. Digital verification concepts, how you are planning, how you are tracking to closure, execution, and debug. So it means like, so what is a meaningful verification plan is nothing but a functional verification is a process of proving the coverage of functional specification, the design intent, and the test environment implementation. So a meaningful verification plan will prove that convergence. So how well you plan, that actually shows how well you are verifying the digital concepts. So that implementation of a verification environment will be done in a digital verification concept. So that is totally digital centric. And coming to behavior modeling, so we have a different methodology, libraries, tools, abstracting analog and mixed signal functionality. So this is a key elements of mixed signal verification. And so this is so coming to the foremost is the what I said is like keeping all analog blocks in a SPICE will be very slow. It may take weeks, or sometimes it may take weeks, and it may take some time. If a PLL, you're verifying PLL, it may take 1 month as well. So you need to be very, and you need to carefully, you need to make the blocks, which blocks to be in a SPICE and which blocks to be in a model. So that is very important. So this is very abstract level. I have given a analog behavior modeling. So behavior modeling, if you see the top, we have different modeling styles: VHDL, Verilog, Verilog AMS, system Verilog pure digital, and system Verilog RNM for analog blocks. And if you see the VHDL, we have VHDL AMS as well. And coming to Verilog AMS, Verilog AMS WEL. This is a new concept. So you might be knowing Verilog alone if you are doing research in a digital world, or like low power digital or digital kind of world, but you may not be aware of like Verilog A or Verilog AMS. So if you are I mean, like you're working on analog or mixed signal side, then you'll be aware of Verilog AMS, and in a Verilog AMS we have still it is divided into Verilog AMS electrical modeling and Verilog AMS WEL. So here electrical in the sense, this is a superset of Verilog A. So it will have the Verilog digital concepts and Verilog analog concepts. So we have electrical here, that means. So here electrical in the sense that is nature will be in a voltage and current, and the discipline will be, it won't be a discrete, it will be an analog. And in coming to Verilog AMS, WEL is nothing but we are actually bringing electrical modeling style in a digitized way, so that we ports will be in a real, that WReal in the sense this is a wire real. So real ports will be there, but it won't be like real, but it will be on wire real kind of things. So that is continuous time behavioral modeling is a subset of Verilog AMS aimed at analog design. And coming to VHDL AMS, similar in concepts of Verilog AMS, but this language provides analog and mixed signal extensions. So yeah, the main things I think you all know that. And the next thing is like the wide range of accuracy and performance that is possible for Verilog AMS, VHDL AMS behavioral models. So that it depends upon the accuracy you require. So usually when you do modeling in a electrical way, it will be and pure digital simulation can only represent an analog signal as a single logic value, but it might be sufficient for connectivity checks in a mixed signal SOCs. And real number modeling with a real and WReal data types, which makes it possible to represent analog signal values in a digital simulations. So WReal RNM are the most effective way to abstract AMS functionality for a full chip simulation. So these are points I actually try to give overview on that one. So analog modeling, how it looks, like real modeling, how it looks. So it describes current versus voltage relation between nodes in the model. So whenever simulation, SPICE simulations actually in the process, then it'll try to, so it has many number of iteration process. So because it's a continuous signal, so every time instant, it actually, because nothing like it's not nothing like a discrete one, it's a continuous one, and it is not exact the value. It is every time the SPICE simulation is an approximation. It's not like damn this is the right one. So it every time it try to approximate. That's where we say like, so it'll try to do number of iterations. So we give a tolerance there. So absolute tolerance, a relative tolerance we give. So within the tolerance, if the if it converges, then there don't be any convergence issue. So for that, it employs a Newton-Raphson method, iteration process method. You have known that, I guess. So which will perform the matrix inversion to solve all the voltage and currents in the continuous domain. So time step we need to until next solution is selected based on accuracy criteria. So coming to real modeling, so no matrix solution will be there. Output computed directly from input and internal state. Model defines when to perform each internal computational segment. No continuous time operation, only the sample, clocked, or event driven operations. Update can be performed when input changes. I mean, like it is like event based, not at a specific time increments. So same format for digital and real modeling differences in data type. So these are, furthermore, I try to give, so voltage versus current relationship is described in analog modeling, but in a real number modeling, either of voltage or current is described using the signal flow. Here, analog modeling, in the sense the voltage versus current relationship is described, it is a conservative flow, but in a real number modeling, we don't model conservative flow, we just model a signal flow. So either of them will be described. So it is an iteration process, is employed for matrix inversion, and here we don't use any matrix conversions here. So discrete event solver comes into picture. As digital engine, we say, like if you are using Cadence, then it's NCSIM, Synopsys, or VCS kind of things. So time step, this is what we have discussed. So there may be a simple analog model and complex analog model. So Verilog A can be used to define simple and complex, both we can model. Usually this Verilog A model, right? So this Verilog A model will be done by analog designer, because they will have a clear idea of their analog blocks and they can model Verilog A. So no digital people. So digital people are very good at modeling, but they don't have analog concepts. But here, other thing is like analog designers will have a very good knowledge of analog, what they design, but they have very less skills of modeling. So hence they do Verilog A, not as Verilog AMS or SVRNM. So Verilog A is nothing but everything will be in a analog style. So that is how they will model for their pure analog solver simulations, like Spectre, UltraSim, or you can say like ADMS from Mentor Graphics, and VCS AMS from Synopsys kind of things. So same here, when you see real number modeling, same format for digital and real modeling, only difference will be a data type. Data type, digital, it will be like real, but here it will be real number modeling, double real kind of things. So you used for performance verification, prone to convergence issue when it is like analog modeling, if you see, but functional verification, no convergence issue, because it doesn't work on continuous time events. So it just work on the digital event based convergence will be there. So this is a different modeling style, like we have already seen. So I just trade-offs I have tried to put forward to make you understand very at top level. So Verilog will be very fast than SPICE, and Verilog AMS is faster than SPICE. Verilog AMS WL is still faster than SPICE. So all will be faster than SPICE. Digital solver, Verilog uses only digital solver, but AMS will use electrical signals, so hence it will employ analog solvers, and Verilog AMS will have a digital solver. That is, Verilog AMS WL will have only digital solvers alone. So we have different license. We need to take a different license for this to have only like, let's say it won't be like AMS kind of things. It will be like a DMS kind of things. So digital mixed signal kind of things. So that will be using only digital solvers. So we need to have a different license, not other than the NCSIM. SVRNM still same thing. Like we need to have a different license for that one. So in Verilog, if you see, there won't be any real ports kind of things. So we need to convert bits to real and real to bits. So that is a we have a function like $bits to real and $real to bits. And here it requires a solver. Like if you see Verilog AMS, we'll use analog solver for this one. Like we'll write an analog logic in analog begin and end. So here we deal with real ports, and here we deal with SVRNM will deal with multi-value nets, like user-defined types, user-defined resolutions. So I will walk through a different UDT and UDR going forward in the other slides. So there will be convergence issues in Verilog AMS analog, and in WREL will have only single value nets. So there won't be that much convergence issue when compared with analog. And SV concept doesn't have any convergence. It will try to converge at every point. So these are different features of different modeling styles. So yeah, the important factor in the effort required to set up a simulation is SPICE simulations run slowly. They are relatively easy to set up. The time required to create a high quality analog behavioral model, however, can range from hours to delay. The thing is here, modeling and creating it will take time, but Verilog AMS, system Verilog, VHDL, AMS language. So RNM in the sense it's a real number modeling. So we can floating point real numbers can represent voltage levels. Logic can be modeled naturally in these languages. RNM is also a good choice for systems with only a small amount of analog content. So no convergence issue here, hence there is no analog solver present, useful for high performance and high speed mixed signal SOC verification. RNM has some limitations. Cannot model bidirectional analog interactions between the blocks. Very handy for digital verification methodologies, such as MDV metric driven verification, higher level verification languages like system Verilog, E language, etc. So the modeling knowledge required to construct behavior models, however, and few are familiar with Verilog or VHDL. So digital designers conversely have expertise with the behavior models, but know less about analog circuits. So though they have very good expertise in behavior modeling, but they have very, I'm not saying they don't know the analog concept, but they have less compared to the analog designer. So the efforts are taken to match the model and the schematic design. Or like TX or S, it may be like SerDes circuits or RF circuits or PMIC circuits or like any simple circuits. So then whatever you model an analog block and you have a schematic results. So you need to compare both model results versus schematic results. Then only you can sign up that your model is actually doing like a schematic design. So you can replace the schematic design with your model for a faster verification. So what we do is we will generally compare the analog design results with the model results by overlapping both signals. I mean, like if you overlap one upon another, it should track exactly the schematic results and the model results. If it doesn't, then you need to see where you're going wrong, and appropriately you need to act on that. So that actually it's a challenging one, but because a schematic is real time and continuous, model is how you are actually writing or designing a model. So you need to take at par, you need to take that all the I mean like challenges, and you need to very accurately you need to design. What I mean to say is you very accurately you need to design your analog model. So this is how model by schematic equivalence check will be performed. So once you receive a spec, so parallelly you'll do. So your spec is your actually golden one. Like you don't see the schematic and the model, but you see the spec. So according to the spec, you try to model. Then you try to model. You simulate that model then write checkers or assertions. If the model meets the spec, then okay. So dump the waveforms and measure the results. If your model doesn't meet the spec, then go back to the model, again read the spec, and where you went wrong, just correct that and again simulate. So that is how this flow chart at the model side. Coming to schematic side, so schematic still it has same spec, because how the model, so spec will be say one, where the model engineer and schematic analog designers will have both will have a single spec. So they'll design the schematics, simulate the schematic, and they'll post process. If the schematic meets the spec, then schematic dump the waveforms, measure the results. Not, then go back again redesign the schematic. So for both, there is a challenging here again. So for the model, for the schematic, both will have a common stimulus. So test bench, same test bench should applicable for the model, for the schematic. So so here they'll take utmost care, and that common stimulus will be created or designed. So then we'll compare the schematic and model results with the scripts. So it may be this is automated. Usually in industries we'll have all automated scripts. So it may be like Perl script or a Python script we write, and we include some checkers and assertions, whether the model versus schematic results are pass or fail kind of things. So it will flag a pass or fail. Then it'll, so it depends upon how well you are actually writing a checker and assertion. If you're just giving a raising a flag like a pass or fail, it doesn't mean like you are actually tracking, because for a pass or fail you'll have a margin, like a window, it will be there. But for tracking, if you overlap say schematic results and model results, then so in that way you need to write an assertion where it will have the same results like a analog schematic designs. So for faster verification solutions with RNN modeling, this is environment generally and yeah. So yeah, before going to system Verilog, and so as before modeling style at that time, right? You generally prepare a verification plan. How well you are actually prepared your verification plan, what are you are going to verify, what are the features you are actually going to verify, and what are the analysis you are actually focusing on, what to verify, which domain to verify, how to verify, device mode, configuration, different configurations you are actually taking options. So how we are handling the protocols, the exception handling, and some performance, how to handle, like if you are dealing with analog and mixed signal things, so operating conditions like different PVT corners, you'll say like process where voltage and temperature, different PVT corners. So it may, where the process may vary in the process, in the sense like it may be 7 nanometer. If you are taking 7 nanometer, then what are the process you are actually taking into consideration, like slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, typical. So in that way, this is different process variations. And the voltage supply, so you'll take all extreme cases, like where it will fail, like low, worst case, the best case, you'll take all the voltage considerations. And the same way, temperature also you'll take care, the worst case and the best case, like very low at -40 degrees, how it behaves, and at 125 degrees, plus 125 degrees, how it behaves. So we generally see all this. So aging factors and all this, yeah, we can say like so we'll here a mixed signal engineer will do all the things like analog designers will do, like checking the reliability, checking the aging concepts, checking the hot care injections, and any violations under any transistor exceeding the voltage. So let's say if it should see 1.2 but it's seeing 5 volts, then automatically that transistor will blow out. So entire circuit and the design will be in no use. So that extreme care we need to take care. And application modes, external connections, typical and critical use corner cases. So all these are actually to be the part of your verification plan. So these all things we need to take care. And so how we are addressing and how we are writing the test case, what are the test case you are actually writing, what are the coverages you are actually looking into, what are the metrics you are actually checks. So all these attributes and are very important, which are driven by the spec. So we need to take care of all these things. Yeah, so that's how generally you'll make a plan. And coming to, as I said, like we are actually this main intention is like system Verilog based environment we are actually working on with analog and mixed signal to make it very faster and time to market to bring to the market, verifying all the corner cases, all the critical corner cases, not even a single corner case to be missed, because any corner case if you miss, then that is a critical corner, then that's all. Again, it may raise pin, the chip may raise pin. So before going to tape out, you need to take care of all this verification, critical paths, all things. So yeah, so we are system Verilog, we have IEEE 1800 2012 LRM standards. So which has a user defined types, UDTs, so allow for single value real types, keyword use generally for this AMS purpose. We'll use net type kind of things. We'll see that how we use that one, net type. So which allows the multi-value nets, multi-field record style. It can hold one or more values such as voltage, current, impedance in a single complex data. So where actually what we do is we actually try to write a struct for this one and defining all the fields there, like V is voltage, I is current, R is impedance kind of things, or resistance kind of things in a struct, and we'll use that struct in our package, and make use of that package and write a enumerated types, which is we say is a net type here. So if you see system Verilog will have a data type as a real, wire, reg, logic kind of things. Here this is different type we say as a net type, and that is actually this is enumerated net type kind of things. We define all this in our resolution functions or user defined types. So that's why we say here user defined type UDTs. So which system Verilog allows us to write our user defined types here, which we intend to take care for voltage, current in a system Verilog, impedance. So user defined resolutions here is you can think what is this. So function to resolve user defined types using keyword with, and so user defined resolution in the sense like if we have a let's say many fan-ins, so one port will have 2 or more inputs. So which input need to take, like let's say A is going to A, B, C are inputs, and D is A, B, C are outputs of some other blocks, and D is input to one block, and all these 3 inputs are actually fanning into one block. So then D will be in a confusion which one to take. So we need to define a resolution function there, like minimum of this ABC, take the minimum of them, maximum of them, or sum of all them, and if not then high Z, make it high Z, or if not like make it X or Z kind of things. So these are all defined in a resolution. We say that we define in a user defined resolution functions. So then, so how to combine these user defined types, and we have interconnects nets, like let's say in a system Verilog we have a variable kind of things. So that variable generally in a system Verilog AMS test bench we try to interconnect that. So in let's say dot connect kind of things, or like connecting elements, analog and digital domain will be in a different worlds, and they want to interact or communicate both between analog and digital. Then they need to understand, like digital can understand only ones and zeros, and analog, if let's say digital is actually the output from the digital is 1 volt, and the digital analog side it should see 1.2 or something else like 1.8 or 1.5 or 1.35, which is a continuous or a real time real ports kind of things, which is not the analog values. But so they need to understand. So we have a connect modules or connect elements, or let's say in the real time, in the real scenario in a chip will have a level shifter kind of things. So this 1 volt will go through the level shifter, which will be level shifter from the digital supply to analog supply. Let's say 1.2 is our digital supply, and you need to shift from 1.2 to 1.35 or 1.5, then it will be level shifted. So we'll use a level shifter circuit there, which will be level shifted from 1 volt to from one domain to other domain. So that time, so they need to have some interconnect nets. We use this interconnect nets there. So basically, in a verification environment, we'll have a connecting elements, and in a real chip, we'll have a level shifter kind of things. So types, net types, as I mentioned, so we'll have that types here, and explicitly if you see the typeless generic nets with the keyword interconnect, we use the interconnect or dot connect kind of things. And a Verilog AMS net with the keywords like wire, try, WAN, trian. So might be you have looked into it or not. I guess you have used that one. So wire, this WAN is nothing but wire and try is like a tri-state buffer kind of things. So we have many different things like buff if, buff, tran if. So if you are dealing with in-out pins and bidirectional pins, then we require these things. And if, let's say, as I said, like if we have multiple resolutions, like many fan-ins are actually there at one port, then you try to use this WAN and trian and war kind of things. So used only for a net or port declaration. So the system Verilog based test bench expands on the industry verification methodology. So UVM is nothing but it's not a language kind of thing. It's just a methodology where it uses all the concepts of system Verilog like encapsulation, polymorphism. So all the concepts like sequence, sequencer. So whatever you have in system Verilog, like all the concepts of system Verilog will be used in the UVM. But UVM is nothing but it's just a methodology, which same system Verilog is a language in UVM as well. So this is a digital centric. So what we do, I mean, like still it is in research phase, like UVM mixed signal, but every industry has their own methodology. So they try to work with when EDA vendors to make it a wrapper upon the UVM for the mixed signal kind of things. Or let's say a bigger companies, very big MNC companies, they have their own methodology, which will have this EDA vendor tools, but upon that they'll have a wrapper. Either they create internally or they'll ask EDA vendor to create a wrapper on that, which address their requirement. So every industry will have their own way of verification. So I can't say like AMS, this is the way actually every industry follows. It's not the case. So TI will have a different flow, and Qualcomm will have a different flow, Analog Device will have a different flow, and so EDA companies, they themselves have a different flow. But as on the top of everything, so every company try to converge at a single point, like by taking UVM mixed signal kind of things. So all the EDA companies and Accelera and other major companies are actually sharing their knowledge and extending their hands to bring this UVM into mixed signal verification to make it very easy for the mixed signal verification engineers to perform the verification. So provide solution that extends proven digital test bench techniques to mixed signal designs to ensure high quality performance and confidence. Technology leverages best-in-class verification practices like writing assertion checkers, automated stimulus generators. Here automated stimulus generator in the sense you write a script to generate a stimulus automatically. So that generators will do. We'll try to write functional coverage and code coverage. We'll check here. So this. So yeah. So as I told, we'll see how this RNM will work. So system Verilog RNM, these are all hurdles we have. Single value nets, how to model drive strength, like as I said, like drive strength in the sense like resolution, how to handle. Real number ports can only have a single driver. So how to handle that, how to model multiple loads on a signal. So as we discussed, so if you have a multiple ABC inputs at trying to enter at the D, then how to handle that kind of things. So solution is system Verilog IEEE 1800 2012 standard has that solution, like user defined types, enumerated net type kind of things, and user defined resolutions, UDR we say. So here, like in SVRNM, so if you see the most things in a analog modeling, it's a conservative system modeling. So every analog solver will actually work on Kirchhoff's conservation laws like KCL or KVL, so which has a current flowing into node sum to 0 and voltage drops along a loop sum to 0. I'm just elaborate KCL and KVL. So that nothing but a static relation between independent of time, like Ohm's law V equal to IR, and dynamic changes like changes over time, differential it will take a differential equation dq by dt, current equal to dq by dt kind of things. So which will be in a continuous time algebraic. So usually continuous time simulations will take differential algebraic equations, and the consequences depends on everything else. So these all things actually will be taken care for SVAMS kind of thing. So in RNM we don't take care of all that things, but just real number modeling we say. We'll see what I'm saying here is like SVAMS kind of things. Okay, so yes, so these are different types of RNM. We generally, as I said, like we'll write everything in a struct. So we'll define type def struct, real voltage, real current, real resistance, real impedance resistance means. So there's nothing but electrical type, and the resolution is how we define that resolution. That's a driver, if you say. So user defined resolution UDR function it's a function kind of things. So function automatic, electric type, and electrical sum. Here we are actually writing a resolution function for sum. So likewise we have a sum, max, min, high Z, X. So all these resolutions we generally try to write function for them, and we'll use as drivers of all these resolution functions in our modeling. So these are different drivers you can see. You can go through this. So sum is nothing but here, if you see, this is all we are summing it here, and this is voltage sum, this is current sum, and finally you should say net type. You need to define the net type, electrical net with electrical sum. So this is RNM UDT UDR, and this is how the functional coverage and randomization we do in SVRNM, which for the analog side. Usually you will have seen the digital side, but we try to do analog side as well, writing coverage and cover group for this one. So we'll write a range of that all things, and we'll try to randomize and do the coverage. The functional coverage here here it is like coverage we are doing. This is randomization we say, and if you see here so system Verilog has a concept of constraint randomization. So we'll do constraint randomization, not randomizing all the bits. So we not randomizing all the values. Let's say here VBAT is nothing but a battery voltage, V reference is the reference voltage. So we are randomizing bit. So it may go from 1.1, I mean like 0 to 4.0, but we are actually interested to randomize only between 2.5 and 4.0. We constrain randomize that. So within that range, it will try to randomize. And similarly for the VREF reference in voltage, we try to randomize from 1.1 to 1.3. So in the digital, if you see, it's just 1, 2, 3, like 0 or 1, so bitwise. But here, this is very tedious one, because if you see 1.1 to 1.3 means it doesn't mean like it is as 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, but it has 1.1 means it has infinite numbers like 1.10001, 1.1001. So it will try to randomize all the things between 1.1 and 1.3. That's what actually my intention to say. Similarly for current reference also, we will try to constraint randomize that thing. And these are So different SVRNM assertions and checkers in analog block we try and these are different checkers. So minimum and maximum voltage, how to check, and current min max, reference min max kind of things. Yeah. So now, analog simulation concepts, what actually are like conservative system modeling, as I said, both voltage currents are essential and contribute to the model. Lumped here it's not distributed models, so lumped models how to handle. Kirchhoff conservation laws, KCL, KVL, conservation of charge current flowing into nodes, sum to 0, analog models of device describe how voltages and currents are related, static relationship independent of time, that is nothing but Ohm's law, we employ here V equal to IR, and dynamic changes, dynamic in the sense like changes over time, which actually deal with the differential equations, I equal dq by dt. This is different conservative system modeling, continuous time. We already discussed, like digital is often concurrent, analog is always simultaneous. So here it is, here it's concurrent, digital is, but analog is not a concurrent, it's simultaneous. And digital is discrete in sense, discrete in nature, like in algebra, but analog is not discrete, it's a continuous like calculus. So might be worrying like this algebra, calculus, all things which we generally study in our mathematics, how actually that are used in our daily life, but that is mathematics, and we are, it's nothing, it's a mathematical physics, and here the real-time physics. So same thing we are applying here, that concepts. So key points about analog simulation is that time is a continuous value, waveforms are continuous in time. At a given time, once a numerical solution is obtained, numerical solution in the sense like we've discussed Newton's Raphson method, performing number of iterations, converging to one value by if it falls within the tolerance, whatever tolerance if you are actually giving, let's say absolute tolerance or relative tolerance. So you generally you define that tolerances, voltage and the current tolerance, absolute or relative, whatever it may be. So that should be taken care. If your tolerance is very high, then so that also trade-offs. So you need to take care at most. So SVAMS object module is like it has. So now we are actually moving from SVRNM to SVAMS kind of things. We're trying to bring SVAMS into UVM, mixed signal kind of thing, but still it is in research site. But I actually trying to bring out all these things which are actually going in the industry and making analog and mixed signal engineers very easy to perform all the verification concepts. So next, as SV we have in SVRNM and SVAMS also we have variables, same nodes here. So in Verilog AMS we'll have a nodes and branches. So similarly we are trying to bring that nodes and branches. We in the sense like whoever the big guys who are working on SVAMS like Excel, all EDA companies actually they're working very hard to bring SVAMS into real-time world. And so how to deal with continuous time like analog and variables as a rationalized based on VMS. So temporary continuous variables, retained continuous variable, initialized continuous variable. So here key points in the sense like any given of time, like once a numerical solution is obtained, it cannot change. So no such thing as a delta cycles and spice algorithms are available. But in a digital engine, they'll have a different algorithms. So they'll take care of delta cycles there. So these are types we generally are used. We try to write a package and we try to define the nature, what type of nature that is a current or a voltage. A unit is an amp, access function we say, it's I, whenever it says I, it should access as a function as current. Then so IDT nature, which is in time domain, we are defining their IDT nature equal to charge. Similarly, we define the absolute tolerance. So tolerance is 1 pico we define, and we try to end the nature. Similarly, for the potential, it's a volts, and nature will be voltage, units will be volts, access will be V as a function, and ideal nature will be flux. So we define flux there. So current means charge, here the voltage means flux. That's tolerance will be 1 micro. And so in the conservative discipline, generally we define node type, potential, and current. Both we define in a conservative, but in a signal flow, either of them will be defined. Like potential voltage, if you see here, node type potential voltage and node type current. So these are a simple AMS package I try to bring to your site. So how to represent a signal? The representation of real life signal in an HDL is uniquely identified by specifying its object kind, net, node, spice node. The modeling kinds are event-driven nets, conservative, signal flow. So event-driven means it's a net, but in the conservative we have a node, spice node. Node in the sense the current entering into the node or current leaving the node. Signal flow same, current entering, current leaving, or the voltage bit across that node to the DC path. Object net type or node type includes spice node there and resolution function for that net. So a data type alone is not sufficient to determine signal representation. Event-driven signal representation requires a net type which may be unresolved. So there generally a var represents a value of signal. The var in the sense the variable represents the value of a signal. It's just a value, it represents a signal. So this is addressed in the Verilog AMS, which is a discrete discipline, but the discrete discipline is discarded in SVAMS. Then we just go through some connector elements, how the concepts, so concrete connectivity, abstract connectivity, SV interconnect. So in Verilog AMS or in a SPICE, if you see, there will be connecting element. As I said, like analog domain, analog chip or analog world is actually want to communicate with the digital, then how to communicate. So it may be in different voltage levels, abstraction levels, but digital can understand only booleans, 0 or 1. So there, so we generally try to write SVC interconnects and SPICE structural model node in a subcircuit that is not connected to any SPICE primitive, port of subcircuit not connected to any SPICE primitive in the subcircuit. The structural node we generally write there. So before going to that, and so how we actually deal with that type of things, node type or node, these things are like, so we have different net or way data object is named like entity that has a data value and a data type associated with it, such as a parameter or a variable or a net. A node is nothing but a node is a named entity with an associated potential value across variable in a or a flow value to model signal flow, analog abstraction, or both potential and flow to model conservative analog abstractions. And here as SPICE node is nothing but like a named entity which in a SPICE netlist in a concept it is equivalent to a node in SVAMS, and in fact an analog engine should implement a node and a SPICE node both in the same way as we generally do see in analog solver like Spectre or Costa IDMS or Ultrasim or APS or any analog solver you can say. So that is how actually I want to bring to your point. Yeah, so here abstract what this is clear, right? So coming to simple connectivity and the hierarchically conversion in Verilog AMS, what we see is here like this actually I took from one of the conference, and I try to explain how this actually works as. So the violets are structural wires and blues are logics which are digital in nature, reds are electrical, and yellows are connect modules, connecting elements. So let's say now you want to connect digital to analog. So there it goes, connect module goes and sit on the analog boundary and try to convert logic to electrical. So we have there different types of conversion elements like electrical to real, electrical to logic, real to logic, logic to electrical, logic to real, logic to double real, electrical to double real, electrical to wire, wire to logic, wire to real. So different connecting elements will be there. So appropriately we need to choose and connect on the boundaries of this analog. So these are different hierarchical conversions in Verilog AMS. So if you see here, the yellow is going sitting in between the red and the blue, the bottom one if you see, which is electrical and the logic. Between that, connect module is sitting, because to make it understand, it is nothing but a mediator kind of things, which is trying to establish a communication between the electrical sub-circuit and digital logic. Similarly, if you see here, so these are different connect modules. I mean, like connect modules, how it sits between digital and analog path. So this is actually going in the still. I just try to capture here, but yeah, this is how they are trying to implement in AMS. The other important thing is how to handle the high G paths and tri-state logic here. So concept of high impedance state usually referred to as Z or high Z. So it represents one tick BZ in a logic type, but in analog circuit, the high impedance is a tri-state logic. So the problem is that the node voltage always has some value in the analog circuit. So which would normally be converted to 0, 1 or X on the logic state. So high impedance nodes voltage over the time depends on second order effects, and the knowledge that node is in Z state is important for logic simulations. If we need to send Z to the event driven, we need to help from the analog solver. Z analog state cannot be determined from the node voltage. So modern SPICE simulators provide this information. It will handle. So not analog driving a node net is represented by digitally driving the Z. I mean, like analog is actually driving in it generally it doesn't drive like Z kind of things. It definitely have some value, but digital can drive Z. How to handle that? So in a language, we generally write a Boolean value in a node is high impedance state as something like $high Z. This is the syntax generally, node and a threshold value we define. So it monitored analog event, like when impedance state changes at the rate we are saying high Z. Whenever there is a change on a particular node with some crossing particular threshold, just enable kind of things on enable time. So whenever enable at that particular node, if it crosses threshold, then that will be like some value. If doesn't if it is disabled, then just high Z will be passed on that net. So nothing but if enable is 1, then you'll have output. If enable is 0, I mean no enable, then you'll see high Z there. So this is impedance node we say. So these are net types, for example. So node type electrical, net type real net with real resolution function. Struct will, as we saw, will define all the structs there. So nothing but what I mean to say is like it will have all super connects, port associations, Verilog net aliases, and dot connect commands in SPICE. So if you are actually using any SPICE, writing a SPICE language or command line simulations, generally you will try to connect one net of one circuit to the other net. Let's say now ADC, or like let's say LDO, you have a regulator and you want to connect the LDO regulator to some power unit. Then so you generally what you do in a Verilog, just will connect with a wire, but here in a real system Verilog or analog system Verilog AMS or analog or double real, generally in a SPICE, in general in SPICE we generally use dot connect. So similar concept we need to try. We are trying to bring in modeling as well. So we use this type of things. So that generally we say as SuperNet kind of things. So that interconnect is an untyped net or node. So structural node is a SPICE node. So thus a supernet also includes all these abstract connectivity objects, which does not participate in the transitive closure. And yeah, so that the VAR, as I said, the VAR is not a part of supernet, but in keeping with system Verilog notion of a net and net collapsing. So VAR breaks in a signal, just its value in a system Verilog. So these are different types, net types, enumerated types, or user defined types. We generally try to build in our package. So net type, a built-in type logic would be var here. These are different possible configurations, as we discussed, like configuration we can say, like if we have a size of 2, like it's just electrical to E means electrical and R is real, electrical to real, or electrical to wire, or so so these are different like electrical to only current kind of things, or real to wire, that is size 2. If we have a size 3 of like electrical to real wire, or this different possible configurations generally we deal when we try to write in net type or node. So these are different possible configurations, we say. So on discussing on that things, so this is nothing but so in SPICE we'll have connect modules like connecting elements or interface elements. If you're working on Cadence, we can use connect elements, CEs, or interface element. If you're working with Mentor Graphics, then we'll have a to D and D to A converters. Like so different domains you can write there. Like if we are if a design is subject to multiple power domains, like not only the digital supply like 1.2 or 1 volt, but you have a analog supplies, or always on supplies, or switching voltage supplies. Switching voltage supplies here, like we generally use that in our unified power format kind of things. So we generally, what we do is see, every time we need not to keep our analog supply high every time. So that actually makes the chip heat, and power consumption will be there, and some leakage will be there if the circuit need to be in low power, and but still your voltage is high, you are seeing, then there will be some discrepancy. So what we make here is like some part of the circuit will be in low power, some part will be in always on kind of thing, some will be in switching. So what we do, we isolate some portion or particular portion, and we isolate in the sense like making input to low or high, or disconnecting the driver part, I mean like source part, and a load part. You need to, I mean like A, B is there, A is one circuit and B is one circuit, and A is off, but B inputs are dependent on A output. So what we do here is, so you are isolating them and trying to latch the inputs to either whatever required, like 0, I mean like ground. In the analog sense, there won't be any 0. Generally, it will be latched to, or shorted to ground, and if it is high or something else, then it will be latched to VDD, digital, or level shifter to analog supplies. So different voltage domains, we define that. So that A to D, D to A converters will have different, what I mean to say is it will have a different power domains. So deal with 1.2. So we need to have proper connect elements which may be customizable and user defined as well. Let's say there will be a dynamic connecting elements. Let's say now it should not be like every time whenever it sees a signal, it converts, shifts 1 volt to 1.3 volts or 1.5 volts, but whenever the event comes, then it actually try to convert. So these kind of customizations will be there. That usually it won't be in tool defined things, so that should be customized by user, and they need to write all these customized connecting elements. So that things in connecting elements we have. So similar concepts are actually trying to bring in this digitized mixed signal environment also. So there they are trying to bring all these things using an adapters for making in-out. Basically, the in-out pin is to handle is very something tricky part here. So in-out in the sense like it's a bidirectional switch or bidirectional port we can say. So when to take in and when to take out, it's a tricky part. So same port can be used as input and same port can be used as output. So how to deal that kind of things? So that we generally define. That is important, and in a SPICE generally all the power supplies will be in out ports. Power supplies in the sense power rails in the sense like voltages, currents, supplies and grounds. So for all that things we generally declare as a node type, and output will be net type. If in that way, like in out node type, output will be net type, input net type, in out will be node type. So in that way generally try to write to exactly the ports in our use customized way in a connect elements. It may be adapter, it may be connect elements, it may be interface element. So for each input net type, so output net type will be there. There must be a corresponding input net type and output net type. So for each input net type, in-out node type should be there, and there must be a corresponding in-out node type for output net type. So ordering of ports as input. So here ordering in the sense like ordered ports will be there, like input port, output port, in-out port. So in that way the ordering of ports as also will be something like input output or output input or input out in-out or in-out input. So this etc. So that all things we need to generally will be taken care in our connect elements and adapters. Let's say electrical logic adapters will be connect elements will be there where we define a supply voltage. It may be parameterized one, so we can have any. So we need to write something like everything should be parameterized. Not every time go and touch that all the connect elements and these things. Every time whatever you require, just go and edit that one. So that is not a correct way, because what you require may not be the same requirement for other engineers. So only you require that particular changes, and other other engineers doesn't require that changes. So hence, so you generally don't write everything in a the defined ones. So what we do is you generally parameterize everything, and you try to pass that parameter in your test bench, not directly going and editing the actual code. So the parameterizing that and keeping the in-out as electrical and output as logic, which is nothing but I'm trying to say like how you are converting electrical logic. So you make in-out as electrical, which is input, and output as logic. So here input is electrical and output is coming as a logic. So that we say as electrical to logic, or E to wire or E to R. So I mean like E to wire, EW is kind of, here we don't have like EL kind of things, but in SVMS. But if you see in the connecting modules or connecting elements or interface elements, we'll have electrical to logic, logic to electrical, logic to real, logic to electrical, electrical to electrical, double real, electrical to real, real to double real, real to logic. So these different configurations will have. So that's how we generally define. And so whenever you're defining, because your input is electrical, you need to have an absolute delta. Whenever there is change in that delta, then if that your input is beyond some threshold, then your output will be as 1 as a logic, then or else your output will be as 0. So similarly, for when you deal with logic to electrical adapters kind of or connecting elements, so what you do is your input will be logic, but your output will be electrical. You never define electrical as input or output. Generally we define as a in-out. For that one, you need to define a variable, there real kind of things, some variable value, and in your always you'll write whenever input is logic 1 tick B1, then you take the supply value, which is a parameterized one, whatever supply you are actually dealing with, else your variable, whatever internal variable value is, will 0. Then you try to pass that, whatever the computation you have done in your always begin end. So you pass that value, internal value, variable value, on analog into analog begin output. So there you, what you do is you write a you use a contributor operator there, making the transition. So transition in the sense like whatever a discrete was there, it'll make it continuous with some rise time and fall time. Or if you're dealing with a skew, then you write a skew function there, and you need to have a contributor operator. So contributor operator nothing but every time like it will be some integration kind of things. That's how the contribution operator works. And yeah, so we may have different connecting elements like sensitive, as I said, like supply sensitive is, so supply sensitive will be there, or some logic sensitive. Whenever this particular logic event is occurred, then you need to turn on this connecting element. So in that way also you see. And here this is very challenging, because if you are not defining proper connecting elements, then you don't see, let's say you are actually, your digital clock is coming into your analog block, and your digital clock is 0 and 1, but your analog clock is something around 2.5 volts or 5 volts or 1.2 volts, let's say. So peak is 1.2 volts and 1.20, 1.20, and you are not defining proper connecting element, then you don't see not defining proper connecting element in the sense that your rise time, fall time is not properly defined. Then because all of a sudden it doesn't imply like it doesn't apply the impulse function there. So it will see you will see x there. So levels will be 0 and 1, but rise time, fall times you will see x, which is nothing, but actually it's not a clock then. So then your whatever the circuit or sequence which are subjected to the clock, let's say some sequence are actually responsible to enable certain analog blocks, then that sequence is not passed to the analog blocks, then that sequence will not be exercised, and your analog blocks will not be enabled or function. So the performance will not be as you expected. So that need to be taken care when you are verifying and you are writing a connecting elements. So this is how the net type we generally define that real, and so you need to write some automatic functions there, like in system Verilog will have a virtual the encapsulation and this polymorphism. All system Verilog concepts will have that generally used in I mean like the features that will be used in our defining the adapters as well. So it should be like it's not a rigid one. We need to make it automatic, and we need to define all the things. So that is actually about the connect modelers and adapt kind of things. And I actually trying to go through some industry what we have done earlier in one of the projects. So this is about one of the 5 we usually used in mobile application. So this is serial interface technology with high bandwidth capabilities, particularly developed for mobile application. So which requires wide bandwidth, low pin count, serial, and a highly power efficient network interface. So the main features of this one is a burst mode of operation for improved power efficiency, multiple transmission modes with different bit signaling, clocking schemes for different bandwidth, better power efficiency over a large range of data rates, multiple power saving modes like stall, sleep, hibernate, disable, unpowered, allow optimization of power consumption, offering different recovery times, symbol coding, 8-bit to 10-bit for spectral conditioning, clock recovery, and in-band control option for both PHY and protocol levels. So multiple transmission speed ranges or rates per burst, mode to scale, bandwidth, application needs for mitigation of interference problems clocking flexibility, able to operate with a independent local reference clocks at each side, but suitable to exploit the benefits of a shared reference clock. This is optical friendly, enables low complexity electro-optical signal conversion, optical data transport inside the interconnect between module. Optimized for short interconnect, which is less than 10 centimeters, and can be extendable to meter with good quality interconnect, even further with optical converters and optical wafers. This is a link to lane configuration. So lane management to lane management, transmitter to receiver, how it actually works. So this is a lane configuration with the media converter. The different gears we have, and for each, whenever you shift a gear, then that is a bit rate, and you have that particular value. Like say you are shifting from gear 1 to gear 4 kind of things, then you see the minimum for 24 Mbps and a max is 70 Mbps. So the actual block diagram is, I'm not showing an active block diagram. I'm actually broadly I'm trying to show block diagram there. So it will have a digital RTL, transmitter and receiver, calibration block, bias blocks, and PLL. So so this is how this communications. So this is a standalone PLL verified. Like it will have an input divider, frequency divider, charge pump and filter, VCO. So after that we have some clocking circuit which will have a kind of phase interpreter kind of things. So we'll have different phases of clock outputs, like let's say at 0 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees clock, 135, so up to 360. So total, so how many you require, like that many. So there will be a 45 degrees phase shift will be there between between the two clocks. 45 degrees phase shift will be there for the clock 0 to clock 360. So there is another internal requirement was there. So clock 2 will be used, has been used as an internal clock for that one, which is actually enabled on passing some input as OD. Then after that VCO output, there will be a pre-divider, so which is frequency divider, and we have a feedback divider, NPC, and it's a fractional. Generally, we'll see these feedback dividers as sigma delta or fractional or integer kind of things. So this it was fractional one, and this was a case study where all internal blocks are modeled in Verilog MS, and real critical blocks were PFD, CP filter, VCO, mapping the equivalent voltage value UP at DN and for the PFD block. And so this was a wide range output was there. So if you give an input, some let's say 19 megahertz of clock, and it should give the output of 688 megahertz to 4 gigahertz. So it was a wide range. So we need to model all that PLL with which address all you can say like what do you say, like, jitter, how to handle jitter kind of things, so that phase margin or gain margin, all this we need to address all these things when you model everything, and you will verify and you will check all these concepts as well. So it may be you need to, that this was like a negative feedback circuit control system. If you resolve into control system, it's a negative feedback circuit we have. And so fractional divider was like two input divider, one is 6-bit and another is 4-bit. Both of these input from forms a mixer in fractional feedback divider. Pre-frequency, it has a 2-bit input. Default is bypass the pre-divider and the divider plus after VCO this is VCO block in the feedback path. The output of this block is passed through a fractional divider block. So PFD is simple. I just try to make you understand this. Looks like PFD. The phase frequency detector can be interpreted as a functional block having the output signal proportional to the phase difference between the two input signal. So that your model should take care, like so in general, right, in a signal, in a continuous signal, if you see, there will be a phase aligned. Whenever the phase is aligned, then your lock will you get a lock, and then you'll see the frequency, the output of PLL is stable. So that the phase alignment and a frequency alignment should be taken care, that you're taking care of that thing also in the model. So that also you need to take. And the charge pump, this is a tricky part, because this in a real time, the charge pump is nothing but you have a active device there, capacitors and resistor kind of things. So how to write that in your digital centric, that is challenging, and you need to make sure that you write and you get the correct output from charge pump and low LPF, low pass filter, so which is actually input to your VCO. So VCO is a function of voltage, and it gives the frequency. So output frequency, as I told, like it is 600 megahertz to 4 giga VCO, based on the voltage from the charge pump. Frequencies are generated, like as I said, like clock 0, 45. So every between two clocks there was a 45 degrees phase shift, and similarly there was not only these things, like there was 45 means 45 bar was also be there, which is 180 degrees phase difference between clock 45 and clock 45. The PLL second output clock was that is for other things. So all the input PLL devices which are digital were driven and controlled by the UVM-TB. So here the PLL was in analog, but the PLL dividers were in digital, and the analog blocks were like charge pump, VCO, low pass filter, other things were in analog. So that also were well handled in UVM test bench. So fixed stimulus was there, analog stimulus for analog pins were assigned in the UVM TB top. The fixed frequencies were given from UVM test bench and verified. So what I mean to say here is we are actually dealing this spice, I mean like analog blocks and everything in a UVM test bench with a different abstraction level of modeling. The input frequencies randomly selected from 19.2 to 104 megahertz, and appropriately we got 600 to 4 gigahertz. So what the frequency? So we can get from 19.2 as well. Input frequency from 19.2 we can get 4 gig also, based on divider inputs you adjust. So that is a programmable, so you can program that. So different input dividers were selected randomly from UVM test bench to get desired frequencies. So this is also randomized, and you can randomly select, and that randomized in the sense like it doesn't take any random value, but that is constrained randomization we have done. So it will take only the random value from 19.2 to 104, and desired frequencies are captured. So for frequency output, the equation logic was incorporated in the monitor to monitor, which is further passed to the scoreboard to compare actual and expected for pass or fail criteria. This was the results, PL results. We have achieved 100% functional coverage for standalone verification, and we have achieved port coverage 100%. So this was an end-to-end verification. All the controls of complex circuit were controlled by FSM logic and in digital RTL. Digital controls were controlled through attribute register, data symbols and control symbols were checked for both RxTX. This is different bus transfers were verified. And these were the transactions, RxTX transactions. So where Rx interface, from Rx interface it will decode 8-bit to 10-bit and pass it on, or like analog receiver, which will again transmit 10-bit symbol data. At the transmitter side, it transmits 8-bit to 10-bit encoder. I mean like a RMA interface, it will send 8-bit 10-bit encoder. It encode that and send it to analog transmitter, which will symbol out symbol, that 8-bit symbol data will be transmitted. So this is like this is not, we have verified as a loop back, transmitter and receiver connecting each other, connecting back to back, and transmitter alone and receiver alone with a certain loads connected. The input also will be were verified with the termination concepts. So that does a so this is a portion of transcript. If you see here, so we done cadence. We have different cadence. We can run on cadence and as well as in Mentor or whatever. So this is a script we used, and so the challenges we faced is like these are different challenges we faced in our in that particular things, and we have found some bugs in RTL and in modeling as well. So this is how the UV environment TB block diagram looks like. So it has agent, it has sequencer, it has driver, monitor, it has environment, it has a virtual sequencer, a scoreboard, everything. So this is our test bench we have created in UVM environment. The test suits are there, which scenarios will be, the sequence will be passed to the sequencer, to the driver, and driver take care to wiggle all these inputs, sequences onto the DUT. So this is UVM test bench environment looks like, how the EMI RMI agent is. So this is how the UVM test bench was there, and this is our scoreboard we have built. So input TX or RX monitor, interface, output interface, output TX, analog plus digital DUT. And sequence flow was something like, it comes, all sequence items comes through the sequence items, sent to sequencer, the sequence item enters into driver and wiggles on the interface on the DUT. So these are different, another different analog checkers assertions. So there are two different, there are a number of ways to write assertions. So one language is sugar. In sugar you can write, in PSL you can write, in SV you can write, in SVA, in Verilog A itself as self checker you can write, and so different analog assertions we can, different ways to write analog assertions or checkers. So we have done something like this. So we have performed a threshold checker, frequency checker, and stability checker as well. So this was end-to-end results for PhyTop. What I have shown earlier was a PLL alone. This is an end-to-end, all TX, RX, PLL, bias, all things, and we have achieved all these results. Functional coverage was 100%, core coverage was 79%. And 500 top results were this. So this is a coverage, cover points, coverage as we have to cover core coverage and functional coverage. So this ends. Thank you for your interest and time. Yeah, any questions?
Thank you so much, sir. Dear participants, do you have any queries? Please interact with the resource person. Anyone, do you have any queries?
So it looks like it is just overflown overhead, or how is that?
No, sir, it's not like that. Sir.
Was that informative or was that challenging?
Yes, sir, it's a very informative session, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
so those who are working in mixed signal environment, right, then that will be very informative, and those who are working in a digital environment, then that will be flowing overhead, I guess. So now if you see everything, right, so all industry now actually switching everything into mixed signal. making everything into very, I mean, like it was a large appliance were now decreased or thinning, narrowing to very scalably very thin way. So why? Because everything is now bringing into mixed signal environment. Earlier analog means we used to have a circuit boards, PCB boards, and all large components. We used to see all the components, all resistor, capacitor. So everything now, because making everything into mixed signal kind of things, that everything is implemented in a nanometer or whatever process industry is following. So 7 nanometer is now it's actually running on, like, and 5 gig already is there in the market. I mean, like 5G, not 5 gig, sorry, 5G. Earlier I worked on 5G as well for I cannot say the company. So so as I said, like worked on Wi-Fi, SerDes, RFIP. So these 5G's networks actually comes under that area. SerDes in the sense like LAN, data centers, large data centers will have like cloud computing, we say, or large data centers, whatever that data centers will has this high-speed SerDes like PAM4 or NRZ kind of things, which has one channel equal to 100 gig will have 4 channels, which will be 400 gig speeds. So that actually generally used PAM4 kind of things used in coming high-speed automotives. Let's say after 2030, you'll see all the cars will be having all these mixed signal chips and SerDes, this high-speed IOs, and that which will self-driven or more automotive and artificial intelligence will be the chips will be it will have all artificial intelligence concepts. Like let's say you just move to the car and it scans your face, so face recognition or the voice recognition, then say take me to home. You need not to drive, no need to touch steering, and it will take to your home or it will take to your office. So self-driven cars and all this will be so that is, so PAM4 will be used there, and 5 gig or more advanced technology so used in future using this advancement of mixed signal chips only. So any other questions? So participants, I want to hear from participants whether it was informative.
Yes, sir. So participants, do you have any queries? Please interact with the resource person, and then we will wind up the session with a thank you note.
So usually mixed signal will have a complex circuits, like if you see LNS, I mean, like all regulators will be there, amplifiers will be there, low noise amplifiers will be there. I'll give a simple example, like let's say a mobile application is there, and if you are transmitting any signal and you say hello, and it transmits the hello to the, so then this all signal interference, all crossovers will be there, so that whenever you transmit any signal, it actually goes to the booster kind of things, and it will amplify. Power amplifier will be there at the end of the transmitter, and it will amplify the signal. Whatever you speak, it will power amplifier in 100 times more what you have spoken, so that it will amplify everything. So that will go through the air or through the media. It will be serialized to send into the space, and because of space, it will come across all signal interference or signal traffic or signal crossovers. So then when it reaches the receiver, so then you'll have a noise also inserted, or you see whenever a signal is transmitted, then it will this carrier will have the noise with it. So what happens at the receiver side, it will try to filter out the noise, and so where this LNAs will function so low noise amplifiers. It'll filter everything noise, and that whatever the information message was sent from a transmitter, only that will be modulated, and that will be received from the receiver through, and it will have different sections to receive, and whatever whenever we say hello, receiver side will be heard as a hello. So this is how generally SerDes or anything like a transmitter receiver communication takes place. So this receiver part will have a complex circuitry. So it will have a phase interpolators, CTLE blocks, analog front end, and differential feedback circuits, and different frequencies, clock dividers, and clocking circuits. So yeah, so mixed signal will have very complex circuits like ADCs, DACs, current steering DACs, or so different ADCs will have. So if I say everything, then it will be a new, because and it will be like flowing overhead. Yeah.
It's a very useful session, sir. I hope all the participants clearly understood all the methods that you have provided in this session. Sir, with your permission, I just want to wind up the session with a small thank you note.
Yeah, if no more questions, and if you are satisfied and informative.
It's a very informative session, sir.
Yeah, thanks for giving opportunity to share my knowledge to all the.
So, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your knowledge with us on different concepts like analog blocks modeling, system verification, real number modelings, and analog simulation concepts. And you have clearly explained the transmitter and receiver transactions, etc. So I hope all these concepts are very, very useful for all the participants. And once again, thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and being with us in this session. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, madam. Thanks a lot. I'll wait if anybody has any questions. They may think and.
We don't have any questions, sir, but thank you so much for your informative session, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you can disconnect, or you.
Yeah, sir, you can leave, sir.
Okay. Thanks, ma'am. Thanks for your time and giving the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, please leave the session. Thank you.